Hi folks, Andy Miller here from Calvary Church in Claremorris. I want to share a story from the Bible today about a time when Jesus and his disciples arrived at a scene with great need, and they arrived just in time. Luke chapter 7 verse 11. Soon afterwards Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a large crowd from the town was with her. When Jesus saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up and touched the coffin, and those carrying it stood still. He said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. They were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. "God has come to help his people." This news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. Jesus and his disciples arrived at a place with great need, just in time. A widow's son had died, and she was in great distress. This was at a time when there wasn't much social welfare. There were limited opportunities for an older lady to find employment, and with her only son dead, she faced into a future of poverty, and she was sad, and she was miserable, and she didn't see much hope and much ahead. A large crowd had gathered together to sympathize with her and to comfort her in her grief. And Jesus saw her grief and her loss, and it says that his heart went out to her. Psalm 68 verse 5 says, "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling." God cares for those in need. God cares for those in distress. And he loves them. And Jesus said, "Don't cry." These weren't some empty words of comfort, just hopeful that things would turn out okay. These words came from the one who can offer hope in times of great distress, and when there seems to be no hope, when there's only pain and death, he can offer hope and life. Jesus went up and touched the coffin, and those that were carrying it stood still. They didn't know what was going to happen. And he said, "Young man, get up." Now it might seem ridiculous for Jesus to talk to a dead man and tell him to get up, but these words came from the one who can offer life even in the face of death. And so the young man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus presented him back to his mother. The crowds were filled with awe. They said, "A great prophet has appeared among us. God has come to help his people." And truly he had. Jesus came to help those in need. He came particularly to help us with our greatest need. We all have sin in our lives. Sin came into the world, and it's because of sin that there is sickness and death. And he came to deal with that problem when he died on the cross. And he rose again from the dead and conquered death. Those who die without Jesus have no hope in death. They'll be separated from God forever. But those who put their hope and their faith in Jesus, when they die, they don't need to be afraid, because they'll be united with God forever. He is able to bring hope and life, even in the face of suffering and sickness and death. And he still loves to help his people. He will help all who come to him in faith. He will forgive your sin. He will offer you new heart, new life, new hope, and a future in heaven. And he will never leave you nor forsake you.